All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the stream. Welcome to the stream. It's your boy Ikamalame Umlunge. He's chilling with me for the next hour or so, and thank you for taking your time to tune into the stream. So first off, right off the bat, before you click, before you click out, I want to thank everyone who's been watching the videos, liking and commenting and everything. So it's a cooler the channel. It's a cooler. Like honestly, it's going to be a good year. We're gonna share a lot. I'm gonna try to share a lot of content, and I'm gonna share a lot of information as well, right? So yeah, this is me. This is Investing Pod on YouTube. So stream on YouTube, njengamanje. Like usually, like predominantly, I'm gonna stream on YouTube, right? But this is my TikTok as well. So mafuna ukungithola ku-TikTok, imina lo TikTok, right? Suit and asset. Suit and asset, simply ngidayisa ama-suit. So if you need a quality suit as well, you can hit me up. Number yami is 079 0791453 as you can see on the screen. Yeah, simply Suit and Assets on TikTok, and on YouTube, Investing Pod. We're streaming on YouTube. Thank you for tuning in. So what's been going on? Gwenzagalan in the market lately. Well, this is a stream. Like if like hambe ukwenza coffee, hambe ukwenza tea, or go cook some food, you know, or go heat up some food. Fakudle microwave or relax. This is gonna be long and take your time. Like there's no clickbait here. I don't clickbait. My point or the purpose of the channel is not to clickbait you with a hook and everything like that, you know. The point is to be patient with the process of ukufunda ukuthi what's the process of investing, right? Rather than me just bombarding you with a 5-minute video and just dump a bunch of content which is going to be compressed. It will be sharp, right? And it will be engaging, right? And you're gonna click or you're gonna sit through the whole video. But that's not the whole point. Angizama ukwenza lokho. I think into engizama ukuyenza ukuba slow rather than fast, right? Because I believe that's when real learning happens. Umuntu mekufundisa slow, or not even ukufundisa, just sharing information slowly, right? Because YouTube is based on clicks. I don't know if this is the right platform to do that, right? Because YouTube is based on clicks. You need to be able to hook people for the first 2 minutes and everything like that. So that's not my approach. My approach is to be very patient with you. I'm gonna need you to be patient with me as well, right? So sizofunda cool this year, and hopefully for the rest of the time uzobungazi. So yeah, igama umlunge. Welcome to the stream. This is Investing Pod. This is me on YouTube, and this is me on TikTok. So on TikTok, if you need a quality suit, hit me up. My number is on the screen right now, 0791453 But namhlanje, what are we talking about? We're streaming on Investing Pod, the YouTube channel. Today we're going to talk about 4 topics. I think I got 4 topics. The first one is unit trusts. We're going to talk about Tama unit trust and how you can get involved into investing in Goma unit trust. And then I think the simplest way to look at Tama unit trust is to compare them with Ama stocks, right? So the first topic is going to be unit trust, and then how you can get involved as a retail investor Goma unit trust. You go to investor kanjani Goma unit trust. What are they? And I'm a platform that supports our unit trust as well, right? Then we're gonna compare them with our stocks. Number 2, we're also gonna look at Aspen. We're gonna look at Aspen Pharmacare. Aspen Pharmacare has been down for a while. It looks like they're making a comeback, or they might be on their way to recovery. Now this is based on a few few things happening. I think they're restructuring the whole group to more or to focus more to South African operations per se, right? So we're gonna look at unit trust. We're gonna look at Aspen Pharmacare because they're selling a unit. They're selling an Asian unit, which is going to streamline the business basically and make it lean and make it almost understandable kumuntu who's a retail investor and to any investor in fact, because group Aspen has been complicated in such that they operate in different regions and they operate in different markets as well, right? Which meant as an investor it exposes you to a lot of risk, including foreign exchange risk, right? Forex risk. So for example, if they have a business in Japan, that exposes you to Japanese yen and USD. I mean, Japanese yen and the ZAR foreign exchange, forex. This is not forex trading. But for example, if they make 5 billion in Japanese yen, say they have operations in Japan and they make 5 billion in Japanese yen, you have to convert that as an investor. You have to understand how much is 5 billion in Japanese yen, and then you convert that to rand terms, right? So there were those sort of complications with Aspen. So the business was sort of difficult to understand as much as they're doing simplistic things, which is filing for patents and then selling amapilisi or selling medication to the marketplace, whether dealing with pharmacies or supplying this and that. And then we're also going to look at Trump. We're going to look at overseas stuff. We're going to look at Trump and ExxonMobil. ExxonMobil is a oil company, right? It's an oil company, American oil company, and they were a company that was involved in Venezuela back in the day when America was like the dominant force in Venezuela before they nationalized the oil. So ExxonMobil, what they said is, because they recently had a meeting with Trump. What they recently said is that they don't want to go to Venezuela because Venezuela is uninvestable. That's what ExxonMobil said. And in return, I think Trump is threatening to almost cut them off deals that he's going to do with Venezuela. It's almost going to be like everyone else is welcome, but ExxonMobil is not welcome because you're almost like campaigning against us or for participate in this. You don't want to make America great again. You know what I'm saying? That sort of thing. So four topics namhlanje sokhuluma ngawo. Unit trust, Aspen, ANC versus Ezulwini. ANC owes a bunch of money to a company called Ezulwin Investments. And in fact, that company got a court order. But the fact that ANC is still operating and going by their day-to-day business as if nothing happened, we're going to discuss that. And then we're going to look at Trump versus ExxonMobil, right? So those are our topics for the stream today. So we're streaming on Investing Pod at YouTube. Then you can also see me on Suit and Asset on TikTok. First topic, what are we talking about? We're talking unit trusts versus let me drink something. What's on pause? This is water. Pause a man. So that was my intro. I try not to be long with these intros, but somehow, somewhere, they always go to 10 minutes. I don't know how. I don't know why. But anyways. Are we live? Let me see. I think refresh the lady page to see if we are live. Okay, here we are. Yeah, we're live on YouTube right now. Let me see. Let me turn on the chat. Anyway, we'll see. It doesn't matter. Let's see. Let's start. Let us begin. So, where do we start? We're going to start with unit trusts. We're going to look at unit trusts and then we're going to make a comparison with them versus stocks, because that's almost the easiest way to understand my unit trust. And this video, honestly, or this topic was inspired by a video engibone earlier today. So it was this guy. So Money Modern. So I actually listened to a lot of his videos. Shout out to him. Shout out to this guy. You can also go follow him on TikTok. He makes a lot of good content about finance. I think he's a financial advisor, professionally. He makes a lot of good content. Anyways, so yeah, this is where this comes from, honestly. And then it sort of inspired me to do this topic. But let's listen to what he's saying. I'm gonna play this video and then we're gonna get right into discussing. Hey, how do you? Okay, let me see. What the hell? I need my volume. Give me some volume. Okay.
Are designed to get you there. If you've never seen 100,000 Rand in your account and things are tight, if you've never seen 100,000.
Okay. For some reason, I lost the volume right there, but we're gonna restart. So we're gonna look at unit trusts, right? So this video was inspired by Money Modern. Money Modern, you can check him out on YouTube. Shout out to my guy. He's a financial advisor, I think. We're gonna talk about unit trusts. So, for example, let's firstly look at unit trusts. What are unit trusts? What's a unit trust? Maybe let's start there. So we're gonna go to Alan Gray. We're gonna go to an Alan Gray website. Just doing it simply. Is this? Do they have the definition? Because I'm looking for the definition. Okay, but a unit trust is almost like you buy into a fund, not almost like. So a unit trust is almost like a share, but instead of a share of a company, you buy a share of a fund, right? So what is a fund? Let us start there. So a fund is kwama, or is a bag of money. Think of a company like Investec right there on the screen, right? So there's a lot of investors or a lot of people who put their money with Investec. So whether it's 1,000 per month, whether it's 2,000 per month, 5,000 per month, or 1 million, 10 million, or 2 billion to people who are wealthy, right? So those people, when they buy shares or when they put money with Investec, Investec creates funds, or it creates money, or it groups money into different categories, right? So they're going to create one bag of a fund. Let's call it a fund. Let's just call it a bag of 5 billion. Let's say everything they've accumulated amounts to 5 billion. And then they're going to create another bag of 2 billion. And then they're going to create another bag of 3 billion. In total, this is 10 billion. Let us assume, we're assuming njengamanje ukuthi Investec manages 10 billion. And that's not the case. I think it's a lot of money. It's more than that. I think we can make an example with someone like, say a PSG, for example. PSG Financial Services. So PSG Financial Services, for example, let's say they manage 10 billion. In this 10 billion, they're going to divide 5 billion, 2 billion, and 3 billion into 3 bags. In these 3 bags, what they're going to do is, and this 10 billion is people's money, imali yabantu, or it's assets, as it's called in the financial industry, like predominantly, because God knows because why. I think it's just the jargon, because that's the thing, Guti. Ka finance, they don't like to use, but big jargons are used. The way jargon is used, confuse an ordinary person. Ucabanga ukuthi bakhuluma ngento complicated. No, it's just money. And then they saying, Guti, we got 2% of alpha. which just means we got 2% more than the average, or which the average might be the index that fund is measured against. That type of thing. But let us get back to it. So 10 billion, PSG manages 10 billion, which is an assumption, which is wrong. But let us focus. So in 5 billion, they're going to say we're going to have a strategy. Esizo investa ngaso, right? Let's say 5 billion, we're going to invest aggressively. We're going to invest in companies that have aggressive share prices. Aggressive share prices means they're volatile and they share a lot of growth, right? So, and then on bag number 2, which is people's money, right? 5 billion is people's money, 2 billion is people's money, 3 billion is people's money. All in all is 10 billion of assets. So then we're going to invest 5 billion into aggressive stocks or aggressive shares. And then we're going to invest 2 billion into, say, stable companies. This is also another company, Old Mutual. Old Mutual also does this. Old Mutual has unit trust as well. I'm just going to keep scrolling like this, right? So Old Mutual, 10 billion. 2 billion we're going to invest in mild companies that do not appreciate a lot in terms of share price, but what you get is that they are quality companies, and then they sit in the middle of companies that have share prices that are volatile, and then share prices that are very stable and do not oscillate a lot, right? Angashintshi kakhulu. And then we're going to take 3 billion as well. And then we're going to invest 3 billion into companies that pay dividends. Or, in fact, with 3 billion, we're not investing it into companies. We're only buying bonds with 3 billion. So 5 billion, we're investing into shares that are aggressive. 2 billion into shares that are mild. Not aggressive, not stable, but just mild, right? And then the other 3 billion of the 10, we're investing it into bonds, which is 30% into bonds and 70% into equities. But let's focus. So out of these 3 bags that they've created, what they're going to do is they're going to create a unit. There's something called a unit. So they're going to say 5 billion, maybe we want to create 5 million units. 5 million units. So if you look at it, 5 million units or 5 billion divided by 5 million units. So 5 billion divided by 5 million, right? Let's do the math. Okay, I want to share my screen. So that it's so easy math there. Because it doesn't help if I, Okay. Let me get my calculator here. Okay, now I calculate I am there. So let's say 5 billion, that's 50,000. That's 500,000. Okay, let's just say 5 billion divided by, okay, we're going to use 500,000. So that means the unit yodwa izobiza 10 rand. So what I did is I didn't add the other zeros because there's no space. Let me see. 5 million and 500. Iba 5 3 1 2 3. That's 5 million. 1 2 3. That's 5 billion divided by 5 million. Okay, I wanna make unit price yamu 10 rand basically. So let's say 10 times 5. which is equals to 500 million. Okay. So which means 500 million. Okay, so let's say they produce 500 million units. So for us to get 10 rand, we need to use 500 million units. Sharp. Get back to basic. Maths, focus, Buffett, maths, it happens. So what happens is, let's say out of all of this money that they've collected, right, or all of this money that they've collected, they have a fund that is 5 billion, and then they have another fund that is 2 billion, and then they have another fund which is 3 billion. So then they're going to say, in this one fund that is 5 billion, what we're going to do is we're going to issue 500 million units, and every unit costs 10 rand. If every unit costs 10 rand, that means if you're an investor, if you spend 50 rand, you're buying 5 units. And then in this fund is going to invest into shares. And then what's going to happen is, the 5 billion, the initial 5 billion is going to grow. So potentially from 5 billion, in the next 10 years, 20 years, or 15 years, the 5 billion is over 8. Or maybe it's over 11 billion, or maybe it's over 15, or maybe 20, right? And that's how your unit trust accumulates, or it appreciates in value. So this 10 rand can easily go from being 10 rand to 85 rand. So after 20 years, you're holding on to a unit trust that is worth 85 rand per unit. So we'll make an example. If we say, when are you buying 500 units at 10 rands per price at initial, which means you're 5,000 rand. Those are unit trust. And then there is 5 billion. And then on top of that, there's still 2 billion. Now 2 billion, they're also going to issue 200 million units. In those 200 million units, 2 billion divided by 200 million, you also get 10. Usanlam or U91 or whoever investment management of your choice, or investment manager of your choice, or investor, they're going to manage that money, and then they're going to invest into shares. Whenever the share price accumulates, Kuma funds, or the share prices within the fund accumulate, of course the value of your unit is also going to increase. Right? Simple. But conversely, if it depreciates, if for example you choose a wrong fund at the wrong time, maybe for example, and you just getting into a cycle ukuthi market ya crash, you have to suffer a drawdown and that sort of thing. But if you tag it out and you stick it through, maybe after 15 years, after 10 years, you're going to break even. But le video lena, honestly, before I even got into technically, inspired by Money Modern. Shout out to Money Modern on TikTok. You can check him out, Money Modern.
Rand in your account and things are tight.
Let me go back.
If you've never seen 100,000 Rand in your account and things are tight, these 3 investments are designed to get you there, starting from just 400 Rand a month. Open a unit trust and invest 30% into the Satrix Top 40 and split the rest equally into the OneVest Infotech Fund and the ABSA New Gold Fund. At 400...
Okay, Satrix Top 40. Asicha ekelenta khuluma ngayo. Satrix Top 40. Satrix Top 40. Let's look at it. Satrix Top 40. So Satrix is also an investment management company. Like Le Unit Trust akhuluma ngayo is also available on Easy Equities. It's available on Easy Equities. Like that's the easiest way, or the most accessible platform you can get it at. Cause like I commented in some of the comments as well, being reply. Abantu who were asking which platforms can they get these unit trust akhuluma ngazo Money Modern. So let's go back for a bit.
And the ABSA New Gold Fund into the one and split the rest equally, invest 30% into the Satrix Top 40 and split the rest equally into the one vessel.
Citrix top 40. And then what's number 2?
Infotech Fund.
One Vest Infotech Fund. That's number 2. Wakhuluma ngayo. One Vest Infotech Fund. This is fun. This is fun. I don't even know. Is there anyone on YouTube? Is anyone checking us on YouTube? What's going on? Let me just see. Let me just check the chat. What's going on? This is fun. Okay. It doesn't matter. Who cares? One invests Infotech index feeder. Oh, so this is a feeder. Before we get into our feeder yet, I don't think we'll get into it slowly, bit by bit. But as ngale, it's a Citrix top 40 index. So what is the top 40 index fund? So the top 40 index fund. So there are 40 companies in the JSE, which are like the biggest companies in the JSE. So there's an index. There's an index for these companies that is called the top 40 index. So if you look at this index, it is goodness. So if you look at this share price costs this index costs 113 bucks, 121.36 cents. This is the South African top 40 index. So it measures the top 40 companies in South Africa or in the JSE. Top 40 companies in JSE. So this number is based on market capitalization, right? To be the biggest company, you need to have the biggest market capitalization. And what is market capitalization? Market cap is this number that you see right here. So if you look at it to ABSA is worth 213 billion. Anglo American is worth 837.33 billion. And InBev, AB InBev is worth 1.9 trillion. God damn. BHP is 2.666 trillion. Man. Imalenga. So market cap iqhamuka. Market cap is the share price of the company multiplied by the number of shares that are available for our investors to buy. So let's make an example on ABSA. Let's just say ABSA. Let's just make an example on ABSA and talk about. Let's make an example about market cap. Investor Center. So where do you see how many shares are outstanding? So something called outstanding shares is the number of shares that are in the market. When the company goes public, they issue a certain number of shares. It could be 50 million, it could be 20 million, depending on their needs. This number is not fixed, like there's no rule into it. A company has to have 10 million of shares in issue, or has to issue 10 million shares. So these are like highlights. Ngifuna PDF, we must get like a PDF. So that we're trying to do a calculation of a market capitalization. But let us assume ABSA, because we're not getting this. I'm not getting this PDF I want. Let us assume ABSA is worth right now. How much is ABSA share price? Absa's share price is 239. So namhlanje Absa closed at 239 bucks. So this means, so asibale almost we can approximate how much shares are in issue ka Absa. So 213 billion. If you calculate sifuna ukubala. So 213 billion, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. That's 213 million. 1, 2, 3. That's 213 billion. Divided by 239 0.42 share price there. So that means Absa has about 88 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 889 million shares in issue. 889, 649, 987 or 988 shares. That is the amount of shares aga Absa that are outstanding or that are out there if you're an investor, ufuna investor ka Absa. So of course there are people who are buying Absa shares, there are people who are selling Absa shares on a daily basis. And then in the middle there are brokers who are mitigating the process of matching buyers and sellers. So there's about 889, 649, 988 shares outstanding ga Absa. So if you say 889.6 million shares times 239 rand, that's how you get this number of 213 billion, of which is the market share ga Absa. So there's 40 companies in the JSE, which are like the biggest in terms of market cap. These are like the biggest top 40 companies. What's the smallest company here? Old Mutual, 69 billion. What's smaller than 69? Let's see. Now Exxaro is 64 billion. So I think it's Exxaro with 64 billion. And then Ulandelo Old Mutual. I think the biggest has to be BHP. What's big? Who's bigger than BHP? Process. Okay. So Process has to do with Aspen. So there's a company called Aspen. Aspen, they own News 24. They own a lot of news or broadcast companies. They're in the media space. So Aspen is in the media space. Let us look into the let's look at the Process Group, which I think is the biggest in that company, or in that top 40. So Process law. So they own a bunch of media companies. So including News 24. Finish Tom. We want a picture. You know what they saying? I want abamnyama. Kuthiwa mfethu ufuna ukusifihlela ulwazi. Ufuna usibeke, ufuna usenzele ithombe thina sizwana nokufunda. Anyways, so this is e-commerce. So they own Classy Feeds, Payments and FinTech. You have PayU. You have Zoos, PaySense. A bunch of apps. You have food delivery. It's a bunch of stuff. I think this is almost European stuff. But like South Africa, Tina. Like South Africa, Aspen, which is like a close type. But Aspen, why am I talking about Aspen? Oh my goodness. I'm having a brain freeze right now. I am having a brain freeze. Okay, top 40 companies. Let's get back to the basics. So there are top 40 companies in the JSE. And then what investment management companies do is they invest into these companies. So what is called tracking. So Naspers is the company that I was looking for. Yeah, that's where my mind freeze happened. So Naspers, let's just go to ChatGPT for a while. ChatGPT. In fact, I have ChatGPT here. What am I doing? I think bookmarkile. Ukhona umuntu bookmarkile ChatGPT at this point. Process and Naspers relationship. And that's how you do the research. So as you can see here, they say Naspers controls process. So Naspers is a South African holding company listed in the JSE. I think they're also listed in the Netherlands or London. London. I think it's London. Naspers London Exchange. Yeah, I think it's in London. Oh. Did they delist? I'm fine. Sense what's going on. The cancellation of America. No, this is another company. I think it's in Netherlands. Naspers doesn't have a primary listing in Netherlands. Its main essential processes. Oh yeah, they're in Amsterdam. Yeah. So in the form of process. So the way it happens is the way these business people, they can they structure these companies in so many different ways. In fact, like look at this for example. Like this is crazy. Look at this. So Naspers controls process. So Naspers is the parent company. Process is an international investment vehicle. So why Process exists? Naspers created Process in 2019 mainly to solve two problems. Problem number one was JSE concentration risk. Naspers became too big on the JSE because of Tencent. So what happened is Naspers invested into I think it's a Chinese company. Tencent is Chinese. Tencent is a Chinese multinational tech giant headquartered in Shenzhen, known for its dominant social media WeChat. Yeah, so they own WeChat. WeChat is like the end all and be all app in China, right? So everything in China involves WeChat. So from picking up a cab or requesting a cab to ordering food, it goes through WeChat. So Tencent owns it. And Naspers was in a position where by investor early with Tencent, and Tencent made a lot of money for Naspers. So Naspers share price grew a lot in the JSE. So they became too big in a small pond. They became a shark in a small pond, basically, like South Africa. So when you command the share price, that can be priced in dollar terms and still be high. Like, if you look at this, Naspers share price is how much right now? Naspers share price is 11,441. No. Is it? Yeah. 11,400. No, fuck am I talking about? It's 1,144.17 cents. So it's 1,000. So 417. Let's just say 417 in dollars. How much is that? 69 $69. So they became too big for South Africa. Like a company like this, you can easily list Air America, right? And then if we say in euros, how much is that? It's 59 bucks, which is almost 60 bucks almost. So you can list in any stock market in the world. So Naspers became too big and they were successful in South Africa. Like if you look at a lot of former investment management companies, like they're really dominated by Naspers. All of them made a lot of their investments, or they primarily focused their funds on Naspers. Naspers is their biggest holding. Because you get that in 2002, 2005, 2010. And they just kept buying to Naspers when they became too big. So after becoming too big, it distorted the JSE indices. So Naspers alone was about 20 to 25% at the time, or sometimes. So they restructured the company. So companies like Abosatrix, what they do is funds they invest into these 40 companies. So they can do different weightings. So different weightings is this. If you look at this 11%, 11.56%, that's how much Naspers is into the portfolio. So if we're saying we have 100,000 portfolio, that means 11,560 is invested into Naspers. 8,666 is invested into gold fields. Anglo Gold is 6,919. It's 6,980. Yeah. So these are percentages of the share or the holding. Remember the 5 billion example. In the 5 billion we own, or 11% of it is invested into Naspers, 8% of it Goldfields, kanjalo. So what happens with Ama Unit Trust is that there are different classifications. So there's a body or a regulation body called ASISA. So ASISA has different regulations or different categories for Ama funds. So remember when I said 5 billion is invested into aggressive stocks, and then 2 billion is invested into mild stocks, and then the 3 billion is invested into AMA bonds. So there are different tiers according to ASISA as well. So this is what this is based off. This is what this is based off. Tongue twisting, chest ass. Anyways, so if you look at this is the ASISA fund classification. Okuyile fund bekhuluma ngayo uModern. Right? This is the fund Modern was talking about. Money Modern was talking about. He was talking about Satrix Top 40. So what investment management companies do is they don't think outside the box. They don't invent anything because this index is already created. This index already exists. So what they do is they just follow whatever the index is doing, or they just buy whatever company is in this index. Because mawuthi uyayibuka share price yale index, it's been rising ever since. And last year most of AMA gains from this index was dominated by AMA mining companies. Look at it. Right now it's 113. It was dominated by AMA mining companies, which is no surprise if you look at this. How many companies in the top 10 are gold companies or mining companies? Goldfields, Anglo Gold, Ashanti, Valterra, Anglo American. So that's 4. There is 4 mining companies. Who's the closest? And then I think they also have the 4 banks. They got 3 banks: Standard Bank, Capitec, and FirstRand. And then they also have Process. You see, they have Naspers and Process, which is like the benefit of splitting Process and Naspers. You get to extract value from both companies. Because Naspers usuliste separate, Process usuliste separate, as compared to if Process was still listed under, or if Naspers was still owned by Naspers, you would only get this investment of, or you'd only get the opportunity of yokuthenga ama-shares ka-Naspers as an investor. But because they unlock value, or they unlock the value ka-Process, you can buy on Process, you can buy on Naspers, and still make money on both sides. And then they also have MTN. So as far as ASISA classification is concerned, this fund is large cap. So AMA companies, they are classified into different things. So this is large cap. What large cap means is market capitalization. Remember we talked about market capitalization. So i-market cap ayifani ama-companies. Khona ama-companies amancane khona angabiza ama-billion. Like if you look at this, like kade sibuka this is bananas. Like this is crazy. Iphi top 40 yethu kade sibuka no didn't I? Kade sibuka no i-top 40 yethu. Anyways, so I'm saying khona i-company ebiza 200 million, khona i-company engawona u-213 billion njengo-absa, or ebiza 2.6 trillion, khona i-company u-2 billion. So those are small caps, which is small capitalization, small market capitalization, basically. That's what that means. And then you have large market capitalization companies, which are absa, which is the top 40. So then, of course, it makes sense. This company only invests, or this fund only invests in large market capitalization companies because it's the top 40. So they only invest in these top 40 companies. They track them. So if you're an investor and you're buying this unit trust, bringing it back to basics and kind of wrapping it into one basket. Siqede lento. So when we investor ibiza malini le unit trust, we need to get a price. Kumele kube khona price somewhere la. So now my fees. So of course you're gonna be charged my fees. There's no free lunch, my bro. There's no free lunch, my sister. We must get a price. We must get a price. So remember we talked about 10 rand. I made an example logo to mawithenga mhlambe u10 rand wena unit. So what's going to happen is that over time as shares of these companies that this fund is invested into, as they appreciate, as the shares appreciate, your unit also appreciates. So if you have 400 units, of course they appreciate 400 units, and then after, let's say, 5 years, your unit is 15 rand. So now you have $5 of profit, 5 rands of profit. So now you have 5 rands of profit. 5 rands times 500 units. You get the picture. Talking to yourself is crazy. I'm actually looking for the price, goodness sakes. I'm looking for the price, Yale Fund, because I don't want to log into my Easy Equities account. We don't have to do that. I don't have to clickbait you. If you're here, you have to be here because you like the information, not because you want to be clickbaited. Okay, we let's see management advice, blah blah blah. Oh my god, bro. Satrix. Price. Let's just make let's see. I think MoneyWeb should have it. Yes. Voila. Here we go. So let's say usually it's either going to be 10 rands or it's going to be $100. So some companies, like, they usually go for like an easy to identify number at initial value. Like at initial value, the unit is gonna cost you 10 rand or it's going to cost 100 rand. But after a while, the unit is gonna cost $113 from $100. So you total this started from 100. I was looking for. I want to notice this is not detailed enough as I wanted. Here we go. Kahle kahle nje bekumele size la. Satrix ETFs. Emele ngizelana. So if you look at this, i-unit yale price ibiza, i-unit yale fund, this is Satrix equally weighted top 40 index. Ibiza 2000, but I'm looking for, here we go, all funds. So this is how you go. You can go to Satrix website, you go to all funds. So yeah, Nancy e-unit trust, yeah. And then you go for MDD. This is MDD. That's how you get there. So MDD is the minimum disclosure document. So they are also called a fact sheet. A fact sheet is just going to tell you how much money is invested into this. So remember, I said 5 billion. So in this, there's 6.7 billion. This is people's money, real people's money. And if you want to invest into this, you need a minimum lump sum of 10,000 or a monthly 500. So this unit trust has 6.7 billion. If you want to participate, you can either invest your 10,000 or you can invest your 500. This is the Satrix Top 40 Index. What this means is, this index tracks the top 40 companies in the JSE. So the top 40 companies in the JSE are solely based on market capitalization. Market capitalization of a company is share price times the number of companies that are or the number of shares that are outstanding in the market. So these are the top 40 companies. You have ABSA, Anglo American, Anglo Gold, AB InBev, Yabona Mondo, MTN, maningi ama companies, but the top 40 companies. So this fund, this Satrix Index fund, it invests into these top 40 companies. So it changes over time because, of course, varying based on the performance of these companies, you can either be the biggest company or be the worst company. You can fall out of the top 40 as well. So when you invest into this, you don't think a lot. You're not going to be buying shares based on your own thinking. You don't have to do a lot of your own research. That's the good side of our unit trust. They are professionally managed. They are managed by Satrix. Satrix has a bunch of analysts, has a bunch of portfolio managers. Some of them have PhDs in investment management, or some of them physics, engineering. But they are investment professionals. So they take this 6.7 billion and they buy these top 40 companies. They invest into these top 40 companies. So for when you buy 500 or when you put 500 per month into this fund, this Satrix Top 40 Index Fund, which is a unit trust, you're buying this fund, or you're also investing into these companies indirectly. You see, you don't have to buy Nespas because, for example, Nespas share price costs how much? It's 1,000. Right, we looked at it earlier on. And that's how much is Nespa's share price. Nespa's share price is 1,144.17 cents. You can't invest into this share with $500, even if you can. Look at Capitec. Capitec is crazily expensive. Capitec share price. Capitec costs 4,187. That's Capitec share price. One share is surely one like Capitec. It is 4,000. So you can't buy that share with 500. But you can if you're buying a unit trust. A unit trust lets you put 500,000 per month with Satrix. And you can do this with Satrix. You can do this directly with Satrix. You can directly open an account with Satrix, or you can buy it on Easy Equities, or you can buy them with, you can open an account with the likes of Abo 91, PSG, All Mutual, Liberty, a bunch of companies. Like I'm not lenient to any company, and I'm not advertising for any company. I'm just sharing information. So that's the benefit of ama unit trust. Uguti, you don't need a lot of money to invest, and you don't need a lot of research as well for you to invest, because someone else does it on your behalf, who is professionally trained, and they wake up every day doing this. So what else did Modern talk about?
The ABSA New Gold Fund. At $400 a month, you'll get to 100K in your.
So ABSA Gold Fund. So there's this one as well. This is OneVest S&P 500 Infotech Index feed. No, this is a feeder. But this is one of the funds as well. The same concept applies. So one invests is going to pull the money, say it amounts to 5 billion, and then they're going to buy shares if they're buying shares, or they're going to buy bonds if they're investing in bonds. And then they're going to issue X amount of units. And then when as an investor you buy units of the fund, it's almost like you're buying shares into the company. Think of it like that. You're buying shares into the company, but it's not a company, it's a fund, right? Because this fund has a price as well. Got a sibu and how much is that price? Performance table. Let's see. I'm a price. Yeah, remember earlier on I said Asisa regulates. So AMA funds are allocated, or they differentiated according to risk. So there's aggressive funds. Like this is going to invest in funds that are very aggressive, and they invest in companies that are going to appreciate in value. And then you have moderate companies, or moderate category. Then you have cautious, which are for people who are not scared, or who are scared in fact, or they might be getting late into their stages or in their life, 40, 50, 60, and they're not ready to take risks. They don't want to take a lot of risks with their investments. That's a unit trust. It's going to allow you to invest in companies you wouldn't invest into had you done it on your own, because you might not have the capital, or even the skill, or even the time to even, never mind the skill, even the time to do it. Maybe you work a normal 9-to-5 job, you're a carpenter, maybe you work in construction, maybe you at a reception desk, you a call center, maybe you drive a taxi, maybe we understand, and then you're investing. You don't have the time to do the research. And everything. You're not an investment professional, such that uzovulama financial statements are ShopRite, calculate my ratio and calculate the past 3 years, how has ShopRite been doing, and then project the next 5 years, how are they gonna do. Their profit margins, expense ratios, and all that type of stuff that you required in the investment process, the research process as well, or the research process especially. So you can just buy a unit trust. Buy a unit trust, no ABSA, bazokwenzela konke. Buy a unit trust, no Satrix, bazokwenzela. Buy a unit trust, any one of your companies, or any one of your choosing. Or if you want to buy your own unit trust, but of your own choosing, maybe you research our unit trust, you can do easy equities. Easy equities allows you to do that, because bazo at least unit trust there, one by one, in isolation and everything else. Let us just finish this.
8. And the wrong question to ask at this point is, what's 100 grand going to be worth in 8 years? Because what you don't see is that it doubles to 200 grand over the next 3 years. And if you stop paying it at that point, it would compound on its own to R1 million by year 22, 3 million by year 30, and by year 40, 15 million rand. Now, how is this even possible? Because the combination of the three funds will give you a long-term weighted average return of 16%. And had you done the exact same thing at the bank, getting 7%, instead of having 15 million at year 40, you'd have 700.
So mekhuluma ngo 7% at a bank. That means if you just had a savings account. If you just had a savings account, I'm a bank, they usually give about 7%, 6%. It's not a lot. It's not a lot. So he's making that comparison. And that's how you should always think about it when you're an investor. You should always think about in relation to say, if fully bank account with apps, how much can I get when I open a bank or when I buy bonds with apps? Maybe I buy a 10-year bond with apps. That's how you should always think. It's this in relation to that.
R1,000, 96% less. But you can't get to a point of earning easy money and letting your cash work for you if you're not prepared to get through those boring first 8 years where you only had 100K. If you've never seen 100,000 Rand in your account and things are tight, these three investments are designed to get you there, starting from just 400 Rand a month. Open a unit trust and invest 30% into the Satrix Top 40 and split the rest equally into the OneVest Infotech Fund and the ABSA.
So that's 75%. That's 70%, which means 35% in one Investec and 35% into the gold fund. Yaga ABSA. I'm not a financial advisor, but he is. Don't take what I'm saying as financial advice. Do your own research. I don't do financial advice. I'm just sharing information.
New gold fund. At $400 a month, you'll get to 100K in year 8. And the wrong question to ask at this point is, what's 100 grand going to be worth in 8 years? Because what you don't see is that it doubles to 200 grand over the next 3 years. And if you stop paying it at that point, it would compound on its own to R1 million by year 22, 3 million by year 30, and by year 40, 15 million rand. Now, how's this even?
By year 40, 15 million. So that means this is for someone, you could be 25. By the time you're 65, you can have 15 million. For someone on 30, by the time you're 70, you can have 15 million to retire. That's what it means. 400 rand per month into these three funds. Of course, going to calculate up into it. That's the research part, right? The research. And what I like the most is that almost all these financial companies got a calculator somewhere on the website. Yeah. You can go to a website, Kalibati, for example, and do this calculation. I think Old Mutual has it as well. I want to think Sanlam has it as well, but everyone has it. Like, let me see. Sanlam calculator. Yeah, almost everyone has it, I think. Personal loan calculator, fund values calculator. So, AMA unit trust, they are also called collective investments. So, collective investments is like that 5 billion you made an example of. It's a collection of money. It's money collected from 200,000 people. Think of it like that. But you can just use the Liberty calculator. Let me see. Liberty calculator. Repent. Okay, let's see this. Oh my God. I don't have to use my... Okay, I don't have to put my details here. But that's the mentality behind the AMA unit trust. I want to... Yeah, that's the mentality behind unit trust. You participate or you buy shares you wouldn't buy with your own money, honestly. And then they are professionally managed as compared to stocks where you have to do your own research. But of course, like there are fees with this. It comes with AMA fees. But everything comes with AMA fees with investing. But of course, if you're investing in through a platform like if I know Easy Equities, you're probably gonna be double charged. There's a fee for Easy Equities on that side. Then there's a fee here, Easy Equities, there's a charge on a account there. So it's those sort of decisions you have to make as an investor, right? But they are the easiest way to start accessing our investment. You need trust. Okay, where are we going? I need a break. Give me like 2 minutes. But we'll gather something before let's see. Because I want to look at Donald Trump. Before, I thought I was going to end with this stream. With this topic, but we can talk about it now. Let's talk about Trump versus ExxonMobil. ExxonMobil, as they are called sometimes. Let's check this out. So yeah, ExxonMobil versus...
President Trump is meeting with a group of oil executives at the White House about Venezuela, announcing a huge commitment from the oil companies to go in and develop Venezuela's vast oil reserves. But here's the thing, I just spoke to a major figure in the oil industry who tells me that there is little appetite from the country's largest oil companies to go into Venezuela right now. And it's not just the political insecurity environment, although that is still very much a concern. It's the oil at $50 or $60 a barrel, which is about where it is now today, about $60 a barrel. It's not profitable to make the investments, I'm told, in Venezuela that you would need to make. And here's why. Venezuela does have those vast oil reserves, the largest on the globe. The largest, no country has more proven oil reserves than Venezuela. But right now it produces just a relatively small amount of oil, and that's because the oil facilities in Venezuela are in such disrepair that it would take billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars over several years to clean up the oil facilities and to make it profitable to extract the oil you would need to get out of Venezuela. And here's the other factor. Venezuela is known for having the world's dirtiest oil. It's not like you turn the spigot on, you fill up the barrels, and you send them out on the world oil market. It is very thick, dirty oil that costs a lot to extract, notoriously large amounts of money. So, while we will hear a lot of talk about profiting immensely off the oil in Venezuela for both the Venezuelan people and the American people, and whatever you think of the morality of that, the oil industry has serious doubts about whether it is feasible. President Trump is meeting with a group of oil executives at the White House about Venezuela, announcing a huge commitment.
Yeah, that's pretty much the crux of it. ExxonMobil doesn't want to get involved. Abafuni, seems like they don't want to play ball with Trump, which is funny because Venezuela used to be, or ExxonMobil.
Want to learn about Venezuela? I'm getting the board. Whoever said teaching wasn't physical.
ExxonMobil used to be the dominant company.
Want to learn about Venezuela? I'm getting the board.
Oh my God.
Whoever said teaching.
ExxonMobil used to be the dominant company in Venezuela back when they were using free market and before they nationalized the oil. Because before Maduro was in charge, there was another guy who was in charge. We're gonna watch a video right now. I can't remember his name. think it's Sanchez or something. But there's the guy who nationalized the oil, like Venezuelan oil. And after he nationalized it, ExxonMobil pretty much exited Venezuela and bayiyeki Venezuela as it is. And then Venezuelan people or the Venezuelan government pretty much fucked up the infrastructure. They couldn't maintain it because busy we maintain. I guess it's the South African problem. Yoguti uthole infrastructure ephilayo. And then for some reason, whether it's corruption or whether it's incompetence, because honestly, amajita mfethu ayiphumele kasi amanye. Amajita ayilambele, amajita sikhule kanzima mfethu. And then masithola ithuba lokushaya siyashaya mfethu, yabo. I guess it was that sort of thing. Ukuthi amajita ase-Venezuela as soon as they saw how much money was in the oil, like there was no choice. There was no choice but to loot. You will loot. They will loot. They will do this. And they looted it and they fucked up the infrastructure. Bangay repair. It's the ESCOM problem. It's the ESCOM problem. Ukuthi infrastructure ilungiswa. Amalahle. There's opportunities yokuthi senze imali ngamalahle. Let us asimoshe ibhande of transporting the coal straight from the mine to ESCOM factories or to ESCOM ports. Wherever abapeka khona ugesi. No, let us kill it. We need to create a need. We must need trucks. We must need trucks to transport coal from the mining all the way to the power station. Fuck the belt. Cut the belt. The belt. Sizodla kanjani makune belt? Because now ESCOM is financing their own operations. No, ESCOM must not finance their own operations. We must eat. We must chop off the belt and then we put our own Code 14 trucks to transport the coal from the mining station to Kusile power station so that we make money. Millionaires must be made, but we did not struggle for this country for nothing. Our children must be successful and they must be well educated and well fed. Fuck the people. Which people? We did not struggle for the people. We struggled because we must not struggle. Get the point? Let's watch this video. It's an 8-minute video. But this lady pretty much breaks down how ExxonMobil or the whole Venezuelan type of thing. But I want to watch this. I've been looking for this video for a while. I want to watch this. Yeah, I don't have YouTube Premium, so I got ads coming out the ass.
Is insisting that the main reason he's interested in Venezuela, the main reason the US... Now, Donald Trump...
The funny thing about this video, it was done way before even America invaded Venezuela. That's the punchline about it. And how detailed it is. And it's sort of blown up right after the invasion. I think we should start with this because this sort of build, it gives the foundation, the background of it. Let's watch this.
It wasn't physical. All right, people want to know about what's going on between the United States and Venezuela, but in order to understand what's going on today, you need to understand what has gone on before. That's why history is so important, guys. Come on. Venezuela and the U.S. I've decided to do this chronologically because I feel like doing history metaphorically difficult. Number one, pre-1998. Pre-1998, Venezuela had a huge oil supply, actually, biggest in the world, and the biggest stakeholder was a U.S. company called Exxon. Why is this important? Because of their huge oil supply in Venezuela, Exxon took it over. So the vast amount of profit, the percentage of profit went to the U.S., and Venezuela as a country got next to nothing. And because of this, their economy started to fail. And as their economy started to fail, guess what? A dictator waiting in the wings wanted to jump in and save themselves from God knows who. Oh, from the United States. How do I get stake in oil companies is taking over the entire world? Number two, 1998. That's not right. I hate it when I can't write numbers properly.
At least everyone fucks up. I'm not the only one. Yes, that's Chavez. Chavez, before
Was
me.
a democratically elected president of Venezuela. Now, once he got in, again I say democratically, he started to push towards authoritarianism, and he started reducing the checks and balances of the democratic system. Side point, does that remind you of anybody else? He also started to rewrite the Constitution to solidify his dictatorial power. Parallels are really uncanny. 2002, a woman named Maria Machado, ignore how I said that, but keep that name locked in your head because she's going to be important later, created an organization called SUMAT in order to overthrow the Chavez government. Psst, who do you think was funding her operation? You guessed it. George W. Bush, President of the United States at the time, was funding her through the National Endowment of Democracy. You know what? People just make up names to mean anything nowadays. So through this
Bush.
National Endowment for Democracy,
Bush.
the United States funded
Bush. Bush is an American hero. Like, the amount of things he did for America. I think maybe 20, 10, 30 years from now, Trump is almost going to be remembered as the equivalent of Bush. Like, as much as there's no 9/11 with Trump yet, but he's really pushing for America. Like, all these type of things, like what Bush was doing. Like,
democracy. You know what? People just make up names to mean anything nowadays. So through this National Endowment for Democracy, the United States funded Machado in order to overthrow Chavez. And when it didn't work, Bush said, not my problem, I didn't know anything about it. And she was eliminated from all political life going forward. And then, about it, said, not my problem, I didn't know any, didn't work in order to this Chavez.
who's Chavez? This is Chavez. Angu Chavez. This is the guy who nationalized the mines, the Venezuelan oil, right? Quote unquote dictator. Because bakubiza nge-dictator ngaso sonke isikhathi. The funny thing is, if Trump wasn't an American president, if Trump was an African president, Trump would be called a dictator by America. Because every policy Trump makes is for America. And you hear people saying, even in the comments, some of y'all have been saying, no, Trump is doing what's best for America. The ANC is not doing what's best for America. And. The funny thing about any sort of policy that is pro-nationalism or that is pro-the nation, like MAGA is, you have to be a dictator, right? And you have to make laws that are almost unfavorable to certain people as well. Like, you can't escape. Because you cannot tell me Utama tariffs then they're benefiting anyone else other than America. And you cannot tell me that our tariffs are for the benefit of anyone other than America, right? The same way you can say Chavez nationalizing the oil is for the benefit of Venezuela, right? But the difference is that because if Venezuela is a small power, is a small nation, they have no power, they have no clout wokuthi bakwazi ukuregulate a narrative to the world stage the same way America does, of which is the same thing like South Africa abelungu bezama ukusenza lana a couple of months ago, because they can dominate the narrative. Banemali, bane AfriForum, they fund AfriForum, and then AfriForum gets to paint a narrative on their behalf, and then on thina abantu abamnyama or some of us bangumsindo ku-Twitter, because even now kukhulunywa indaba ka-Starlink, for example, I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. AfriForum is going to put up money, and then they're going to lobby people ukuthi Starlink kuze la South Africa. Whether it gets rejected in parliament or whatever, but khona into abazoyizama to make shit happen. Thina, on the other side, other people bazobe be-texter online or tweeting online, whatever you're calling it, Xing online. I don't know what it's called now. Right? That's the only difference. There's no difference between Chavez and Trump. If anyone tells me there is, it's because they're hypocrites. And it's because they want to paint a narrative. Because people change the narrative whenever it's convenient to them. Like right now, Trump said, we want to take Greenland. And Denmark or whoever it is, just because they set foot there 500 years ago, does not mean they own the land. I've been seeing a lot of debates online about that. Abantu bekhuluma ngalonto leyo ukuthi, oh, the hypocrisy and the double standards of you saying that. It's not a double standards. There's two parts of it. One is that America is a superpower, and a superpower can get to paint a narrative however they want it. To the victor goes the spoils. To the victor goes the spoils. Whoever wins, they get to participate, or they get to paint the narrative. They get to write the story ukuthi what happened. And that's the privilege, America. Ukuthi they get to write the story. They can apply different laws and they can apply different standards to different people. They can say to Greenland, just because you landed a plane or just because you landed a boat 500 years ago does not mean the land belongs to you. But then on the other side, they can charge 45% tariffs on South Africa based on a nonsensical thing of saying there's genocide in South Africa and there's land being taken. But then if you look at it, a group of people that owns that land, they came 500 years ago. So what are we talking about? Sikhuluma ngani la? Are we talking truth, factual, objective stuff? Or are we changing the narrative when it's favorable to us? Or we're just taking power because we cared? Because that's the problem. I think, I hate about the politics. I hate politics because people don't say what they mean. My politicians don't say what they mean. And I change the narrative, including some of their followers as well, right? Want to change the narrative depending when it favors him or her. You can say if you landed 500 years ago in Greenland, it doesn't make the land yours. But then on the same time, you can support people who landed 500 years ago in Africa and then they're saying the land is theirs. You can do however you like. You make the laws as you go. There are no laws. There are no laws in this world. If you're a super nation like America is. But I'm saying Chavez is no different from Trump. Because what Trump is doing is for America. And what Chavez was doing was for Venezuela, to say, we have a company that is exporting our money and our resources. We need to bring back the money into our country. Now, for some reason, for this or that reason, whether it's sanction or incompetence or corruption, because pretty much like the ANC, for this or that other reason, what tends to happen is that things get lost in translation. Imali ingafiki ebantwini like it's supposed to, right? I-development ingafiki ebantwini like it's supposed to. So kugcina sekudla abangani ba-Chavez. Mephuma uChavez kungena uMaduro adle nabangani bakhe naye. The same thing esibona la eSouth Africa, the same thing esibona eZimbabwe. Grace Mugabe had a farm. She kicked people out somewhere at random. And it was black people. She kicked them out the farm. And she took the farm for herself. Right? That's the point I'm saying. To say, how does it trickle down to the people? And I think that's the difference, maybe, between a leader like Chavez and then probably like someone like Trump. In America, you probably will see it trickling down to the common folk. I hope I'm not there. But I'm saying I hope. But it never happens anyway. In any society, there's always the cream and then there's the bottom. But anyway, let us continue with this.
Who do you think was funding her operation? You guessed it. George W. Bush, President of the United States at the time, was funding her through the National Endowment of Democracy. You know what? People just make up names to mean anything nowadays. So through this National Endowment for Democracy, the United States funded Machado in order to overthrow Chavez. And when it didn't work, Bush said, "Not my problem, I didn't know anything about it." And she was eliminated from all political life going forward. And then, in 2002, Bush was a very busy guy. Number 4, in 2007, Chavez, reinvigorated with power and an authoritarian regime, decides to nationalize Venezuelan oil.
2007.
That meant that Venezuela took all of Exxon's money, all their oil, and all their access to oil, and shifted the lion's share of profits back to Venezuela and left Exxon, well, not a lot of money.
You can't do that.
Exxon then sued and won $1.4 billion in a claim. But what kind of international police force are we going to get for Venezuela to be forced to pay Exxon? None. After that huge shift of economic power, Venezuelan oil dropped from 3 million barrels a day way down to 700,000 barrels a day due to corruption and, let's be honest, informal sanctions put on them by the United States because they just stole a bunch of their money from corporations. Stole might be a U.S. word, considering the oil was on Venezuelan land and considered a Venezuelan resource. But who's counting?
Yeah, pretty much. So in Venezuela, they took their oil back from ExxonMobil, however you call it. And then ExxonMobil sued. And then they won a bunch of money. And then, of course, America painted the narrative. And they said, Venezuela is stealing from us. Venezuela is stealing our oil. What did I just say 2 minutes ago? If you're a superpower, you get to paint the narrative. You know, I'm a Game of Thrones guy. And I'm convinced, like George R.R. Martin, like this series is based on America. This series is based on America. Would be the truth would be. So there's a scene where the queen in Game of Thrones tells the prince ukuthi at some point the truth would be what you make it, right? And what had happened is that the boy had got into a fight with other kids, and the boy was wrong. But then when it was time to get into court, right? When it was time in Kantolo, the boy changed the story. Geoffrey, which is the boy, he changed the story. And he said he was attacked. And he was the one who initiated the attack. But then he said he was the one who was attacked. Or in fact, he didn't say that. He was overshadowed during the argument. But then afterwards, you should see his mother when he's consoling him, emthoba amanxeba, and he's teaching him how to rule over people and how to create narratives. This is the video. I think it's like 30 minutes. These are the wounds.
It's ugly.
A king should have scars. You fought off a dire wolf. You're a warrior, like your father.
I'm not like him. I didn't fight off anything that bit me, and all I did was scream. They were too stark and sword, both of them.
That's not.
You see the boy. The boy is genuine. You know? He's genuine. He's genuine. He knows what happened. He tried to fight. He was overpowered by a girl because he was having a fight namantombazane. Wahlwa intombazane kahle kahle lo mjila. That's what happened. And then the child or the girl had a wolf. So they're a wolf family. The Starks, they're a wolf family. So their sigil or their logo is a wolf. So they also have a wolf. So almost all of the kids, they have a wolf as a pet. So Ingane pretty much sent the wolf to this boy. And the wolf beat him. So after he beat him and then they went to trial and whatnot, this is after then. His mother is consoling him. Look at what his mother is saying.
That's not true. You killed the beast. You only spared the girl because of the love your father bears her father.
I didn't die.
When Ares Targaryen sat on the Iron Throne, your father was a rebel and a traitor. Someday, you'll sit on the throne and the truth will be what you make it.
Yes. Do you remember the fact that Mandela at some point was a terrorist? At some point, Mandela was called a terrorist by the USA. The ANC was a terrorist organization. Anyways, let's get back to the video. I'm saying that to get back to this, to say, they said, rather, Venezuela stole their money from ExxonMobil. They can paint the narrative.
US really does imperialism out of 10, don't they?
Ooh, new chalk.
Number 5, a guy named Madero used to be the VP of Chavez, takes over, and he starts building an even stronger authoritarian government. I forgot the year, 2013. Obama calls the drug cartel and this particular regime a threat to democracy and national security of the United States. That's then followed by Trump putting on economic sanctions in 2017.
Are you with me so far? This is about to get interesting.
Interesting, I mean even more corrupt. 2025. I brought you right up to the present. U.S. dollars.
Focus, 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 focus,
And what
focus.
that has served the United States in doing is solidifying its
Focus. So, oil is traded in
control of
dollars.
the world's biggest oil supply.
Oil is
That's
traded
not
in
foreign
dollars.
or-
Oil is traded in dollars. So that means if you're in Australia, you want to buy oil, you have to change Australian dollars into the US dollar. If you're in New Zealand, if you're in Ivory Coast, if you're in Nigeria, even though you produce the oil, it's even funnier that I'm saying it. It's even funnier that I'm saying it. You have to convert your money to dollars, and then you can buy oil, because oil is priced into dollars. Remember that old man he talked about? Right now, oil is trading at 57, and that's the reason why ExxonMobil doesn't want to go to Venezuela. Well, it's appreciating now, almost since that, because they had an I don't know why I have chicks adverts, bro. Goodness. This is a price got oil right now. This is trading economics. You can go to trading economics almost for anything. There is source for almost anything, finance or almost anything research. But this is the share price got oil. It fell from 22. Excuse. So from February 22, from 123 to half, 50% half, 50% down right now to 61, and it's coming from 56, which is not good for ExxonMobil. When they had to show I'm cool, the first video we watched.
What the real answer is.
So this is the real answer now, right? Of which is you have China, you have BRICS, you have Russia, you have everything that's going on in the world right now. Everyone is trying to de-dollarize, because there's something called de-dollarizing right now. Everyone is trying to get other means to buy oil, to buy gold, or to buy commodities or any other mineral without using the USD. So pretty much bypassing the US dollar. That's what everyone is trying to do, right? So now how do you gain control? The way you gain control is that you hold the biggest reserve of oil in the world. If you have the biggest oil reserve in the world, then everyone will buy oil from you. And then they're forced to convert into dollars, won't they? Let's finish the video.
Is U.S. currency rates. Follow along, this gets tricky. Oil has always been traded in U.S. dollars, called petrol. And what that has served the United States in doing is solidifying, is stabilizing, is increasing U.S. dollars. Because if anybody wants to buy oil anywhere in the world, they have to use U.S. currency. It artificially inflates the price of the U.S. dollar and stabilizes the U.S. economy. This is the real problem. Because what Trump and the United States is really afraid of are BRICS nations.
Yep.
What are they? They are nations, they are countries that have gotten together and are starting to trade without the United States, especially oil, and not use the U.S. currency as their trading denomination. And that is going to possibly submarine the U.S. economy. So is it about oil? Sure, but what really it's about is about the United States being able to control the entire market of trade when it comes to oil, thus inflating and propping up the U.S. economy. So when somebody says, is it about the oil? Say, sure, but that's just a vehicle for them to control everything else. Want to learn about Venezuela? I'm getting the board.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. No more, no less said.
Is insisting that the main reason he's interested in Venezuela, the main reason the US is kind of looking at tankers off the coast of Venezuela comes back to drugs, the trade, the smuggling of illegal drugs out of Venezuela. But what if it's not just that? Maybe there's something else going on. What if it's partly about oil. Now, on the surface, you might be thinking, why does America even need Venezuelan oil? And I can kind of understand your point, because if you look at just total oil production, look, this is up until 2005, the US was there, Venezuela was there, Saudi Arabia was there. But as you probably know, since then, everything has changed. Look, American output has gone through the roof, way above Saudi Arabia, and Venezuela has gone basically to the floor, and that's kind of post-Chavez, Maduro. They're one of the minnows now, and I think 21st biggest producing various different ways you can categorize it. But one way you can look at it is look at the kind of density. So you're basically looking at how thick that crude is, and when I say thick, I mean literally how thick. This is showing you global production broken down.
So the reason, if you look at that graph, one of the main reasons why Venezuela is not producing to their capacity is because of corruption, because the infrastructure is fucked up. They pretty much messed up the infrastructure. Like they should be higher, probably here.
Look, American output has
they should be higher.
Way above Saudi Arabia, and Venezuela has.
So if you look at this, America's already high. They're already high. This is like based on 2023 data. So what will happen when they control Venezuela? Go figure.
But this is gloopy, super viscous stuff. And it's this.
And then with corruption, then you have the problem of their oil is thick. So they need a lot of money and a lot of investment, like heavy investment into the oil. So you can't get it done if you money leave.
Relatively small in global production.
Like you look at this.
Gloopy, super viscous stuff. Heavy oil. So heavy, medium, light. Remember that. And remember also, the key thing here is you get it out of the ground, it may look like that, but ultimately you still need it to go into, someone's car, or indeed, be turned into chemicals. Basically, you need to process it, and that processing, that happens in places like this, in refineries, and there are refineries all over the world. Of course, there are refineries all over the US as well. There's kind of more than 100 of them. And if we kind of look at where those refineries are, well, so there's some in California. So the history in America, actually, historically, a lot of the early Californian oil, that was the heavy, gloopy stuff. And if you look at kind of some of the refineries in America, so here are some of the refineries. There's one in LA there. These are the 10 biggest. You've got some up here around kind of towards Canada. We'll kind of come to that in a second. But a lot of them are down there, kind of Texas, Louisiana.
The South.
Coast.
The South.
These refineries are primarily set up for heavy oil, for taking that gloopy stuff and turning it into gasoline and all of the other different products. But here's where things get interesting. And remember that chart I showed you a moment ago, the one where we showed kind of shale oil and how it kind of went through the roof? The oil that's generally produced with shale oil, the fracking oil, that comes out of the ground mostly in the light form. So it's the smoothie. It's sometimes actually even clear. It comes out of the ground clear rather than black. And that's the majority of American production right now. Shale oil tends to be light stuff. And actually that's kind of going back 10 years. Look at where we are now. Look at those bars. In the last few years, the amount of light oil being produced in the US has gone up and up and up, and the amount of heavy stuff has gone down. But back to those refineries. They need to be fed. If America's going to have gasoline, it needs to feed those refineries with heavy oil. So if you look at the kind of imports coming into America, in recent years, even though America is producing so much oil, more oil than it ever produced before, it still needs to suck in loads of oil from overseas. And the type of oil we're talking about, it used to be, it's mostly heavy crude. It used to be only 12%. So only 12% of imports were heavy, gloopy crude. Now, it's about 70%. So 70% of the oil coming into America, which it needs to basically keep its economy going, is heavy crude. And where does heavy crude come from? Well, here are some of the big countries where you find most of it. It's Canada and Venezuela. There's one other I'll come to in a second, which we'll come back to. But it's Canada and it's Venezuela where you get most of this heavy crude oil, which is why, back to think about where those refineries are, they're mostly set up, kind of, you've got some in the north there to get heavy oil coming out of Canada, and you've got some around the kind of Louisiana and elsewhere, and Texas, to get that heavy oil that comes in from Venezuela. That was kind of the way they were set up. And it's really expensive to rebuild these things. You can't just chuck out a refinery very easily overnight. Some came from Mexico and the Gulf of Mexico as well, and that was pretty heavy too. So that's the picture in America. And the upshot is, even though America's producing more and more oil, the imports, this is showing you imports of oil into America, are still really high. And if you break down those imports by the country that stuff is coming from, well, there's Venezuela, and it used to be a decent slug, actually more coming from Venezuela just about than from Canada, just at the turn of the millennium. But now look at what's happened since. Right now, Canada has gone from...
If you remember, by nationalized our 2013, you can see uthi yaqala this purple gets smaller and smaller from 2013. It gets smaller because uyabona ukuthi yayikhula ngama 2000s, but it got smaller. Why? Nationalization.
15% of all of the US imports of oil to 61%. 61%. And Venezuela is basically next to nothing. But here's what's tantalizing, and here's the reason I think that a lot of people are looking towards Venezuela and thinking, well, there's more to this than just drugs. Look at total oil reserves around the world. The higher these bars are, the more oil there is in the ground. So that hasn't yet been taken out of the ground. So they've got Saudi, Iran, Iraq, all of the usual suspects. But the biggest of all, and this is according to various different sources, the biggest of all is Venezuela. And what's that oil? It's the heavy, tarry stuff that you might well want to put into those American refineries. And there is really only one other place in the world.
Yeah, that's just it. But we'll see. ExxonMobil doesn't want none of it. It doesn't want to get involved. ExxonMobil doesn't want to get involved. They want none of it, bruh. ExxonMobil, a solid hold if Venezuela is uninvestable. Yeah. But Trump is threatening to block them. You're gonna read this in like 2 minutes. Oh my God. No. They're trying to do. So Donald Trump has said he might block ExxonMobil from investing in Venezuela after the oil company's chief executive called the country uninvestable during a White House meeting last week. So Darren Woods told the US president that Venezuela would need to change its laws before it could be an attractive investment opportunity. During the high-profile meeting on Friday with at least 17 other oil executives. So Trump had urged the group to spend $100 billion to revitalize the Venezuelan oil industry. In a meeting less than a week after U.S. forces captured and removed Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro from power in a brazen overnight raid. So Woods, who's the ExxonMobil CEO, so Woods' skeptical remarks quickly emerged as the dominant headline, undercutting the White House's hopes of building momentum from its engagement with the world's most prominent oil executives. I didn't like Exxon's response. That's Trump. Angithandi into eshiwo yabafana. Yabona abafana angithandi indaba beyisho. That's pretty much it. So Trump said, I didn't like Exxon's response. Trump told reporters on Air Force One on his way back to Washington on Sunday. I'll probably be inclined to keep Exxon out. I didn't like their response. They are playing too cute. So Exxon did not immediately respond to a request for comment. But Exxon, ConocoPhillips, and Chevron, the three largest oil producers, were for decades the most prominent partners of Venezuela's state oil company PDVSA. So they're saying Exxon, ConocoPhillips, and Chevron. They were the biggest companies that operated in Venezuela back in the day. So the government of late President Hugo Chavez nationalized the industry between 2004 and 2007. And while Chevron negotiated deals to partner with PDVSA, ConocoPhillips and Exxon left the country and filed for prominent arbitration cases shortly after. Which goes back to this. In the article, they nationalized between 2004 and 2000 and what? Yeah, 2004 and 2007. So if you look at Mabuale graph, mawuthi uyayibuka le graph 24 27 it makes sense. Uyabona ukuthi from here ukuthi i-supply from, because these are imports to America. This is how much Venezuela was sending to America every year. So if uyabona ngo-99 2000 uyabona igraph ukuthi it's growing, but then 2004 it sort of stops and then it keeps on decreasing and decreasing almost to nothing to now, right? So he says Venezuela now owes over $13 billion collectively to ConocoPhillips and Exxon for the expropriation according to court rulings. So they have their own courts, of course. Baney'nkantolo zabo ey'bafevayo. Kuma yithi Venezuela ikweleta u-13 billion. Mfethu ngikukweleta kanjani u-13 billion ngento yami? Yenzakala kanjani lo nto ukuthi uthatha into yami mase nginqaba nayo ukuthi no more ngeke usayithatha, bese ujike wena ungikhombe ngesibhamu ungiyise enkantolo uthi lo unqaba nento yakhe. Just because he refuses to give me his property, I'm suing him. And eventually, you get to owe $13 billion with your own property. How is that possible? It is possible if you're a superpower. One word answer or one sentence answer. So Woods told Trump on Friday, we've had our assets seized there twice. And so you can imagine the re-enter a third time would require some pretty significant changes from what we've historically seen here. So they're saying ExxonMobil, they've had assets seized 2 times by EU government or Venezuela. So Exxon CEO said the company needed durable investment protections introduced and that the country's hydrocarbons laws also needed to be reformed. If we look at the legal and commercial constructs and frameworks in place today in Venezuela, it's uninvestable, he said. But ConocoPhillips CEO Ryan Lenz told Trump that his company was the largest non-sovereign credit holder in Venezuela and called for a restructuring of the debt and the country's entire energy system, including PDVSA. PDVSA, if you remember, was the company which was partners with all these companies. We will see. Anyways, I want to move on from this topic. I want to move on from this topic to ANC versus Ezulwin. So this is another interesting topic. So Ezulwini, there's a company called Ezulwini Investments. Ezulwini Investments is owed by ANC 100 million. So apparently they tender with the ANC to put up signs for my elections. I wonder when it's about to be campaigns, all these boards you see on the road. So there's a company that does that. Someone has to print these things. So someone has to do these things that you see them on the street. So I guess this company was doing this for ANC during my elections. I'm not sure about the year. Let's see. I'm not sure about the year. So NC court papers admit. So this is from last year. Of course, Action SA. I don't want someone or biased. Action SA, of course, is biased. But I don't want to read a court document as well. I want to read an article. Okay, NC 85 minutes. Okay, yeah, here we go. So this is like the case law. I don't know if you got time, you can go check it out. This is like from 23. But as for the article, so the long-standing legal wrangle between the ANC and Ezulwini Investment, a marketing company, is far from over after lawyers representing the company threatened to obtain writs of execution for the movable assets at the party's provincial offices in a bid to recover a debt of over 85 million. This comes after the company's legal representative, attorney Shafiq Salih, obtained a writ of execution dated October 3, 2025, attached the ANC's assets, including movable goods and incorporeal property at Luthuli House, the ANC's headquarters in Johannesburg. So, Ezulwini, last year, they got a court order ukuthi they can take property ANC because of this 85 million debt. Right? And I remember befika kuthiwa bafika ku ANC withdrawal court bid after. So bafika kuma office ANC, and I remember there was a day where they took stuff. I remember there was a day where they took my asset. This is October. Like they've been going at it, Bagit. Yo, they've been going at it. Yeah, this is from last year, 2 months ago. ANC withdraws court bid after reaching confidential settlement with Ezulwini over 85 million debt. So ANC has quietly withdrawn its agent court application to unfreeze its bank accounts after reaching a confidential out-of-court settlement with Ezulwin Investments over an 85 million debt. So apparently they reached an agreement outside of court. So what happens is, makuwukuthi uthola ukuthi I don't want to deal with the courts, and then maybe I don't want to pay you the 85 million. Maybe let's say I want to pay you. Okay, I want to pay, but I'm going 85 million. So I can probably get my lawyers to bring the 85 all the way down to 5 million. So that's what happens usually when you settle out of court. Umuntu usually gets way less amount than they initially requested, or than they initially wanted. So the ruling party confirmed on Monday that the long-standing legal dispute stemming from unpaid services rendered during the 2019 general election campaign has been amicably resolved. So the ANC said this is resolved. Now the problem is this. Maybe let's finish this article. But yeah, they don't say. But it was based on this. Like Ezulwini did a signs for I want to think other work for the ANC as well, because they're a marketing company. So probably campaigns, they ran a few campaigns for the ANC, either digital or physical during 2019 elections, right? So this is the owner. This is the owner, Ezulwin. Let's look at this.
This is Mandi Samtembu, the owner and director of Ezulwini Investment.
Mandi Samtembu is the owner of Ezulwin.
ANC has been issued with a court order to pay 102 million last year, December. I have not received a single cent from that money. This is my plea against President Cyril Ramaphosa, that I want my money. Please, pay my money. I'm here suffering in jail while you are enjoying yourself. Thank you. This is Mandi Samtembu.
Who's at jail? She's in jail. Oh my God, bro. Fucking with the wrong people, sis. Fucking with the wrong people. She's in jail, bro. God damn. Oh, she's a thief. What the hell? Yo, kwenzakalani la? Like kwenzakalani la? Kanti yeah, uyena la. Uyena chat. So the thief, suspected to be behind a spate of burglaries at various government buildings in Johannesburg over the past 2 years, was a CCTV expert who stolen hard drives and other computer hardware on the sideline. So 30-year-old Mandisa Mthembu appeared in the JHB Magistrates Court this week after the Johannesburg Metro Police Department officers arrested her in the early hours of Monday morning. Mthembu was caught inside the IEC's offices at the City of Joburg's Metro Center. She allegedly attempted to steal hard drives, RAM sticks, USB, processors, and other voter management devices, which officers found in a bag in her possession. What the hell? Why was she stealing IEC stuff? For who? Why to Nyoba? This came after a security guard spotted her attempting to break open an emergency exit door and called for backup. So the Sunday Times reported that Mthembu supposedly acted deranged during her arrest. She was pretending to be crazy and making all sorts of utterances, said the COJ Forensic Unit spokesperson Lucky Sindan. She said her mom was a witch and it was her who had sent her to commit witchcraft in the offices. But the officers were not deterred and apprehended her. It was supposedly the 4th time she had broken into the COJ's offices. What the hell? Okay, yabona ezinye izinto this seems to be thicker than what meets the eye. So in its initial statement following Mthembu's arrest, the city said she was listed as a director of 5 companies. It has since retracted this part of the statement. According to co-workers of Mthembu who spoke to the Sunday Times, she officially made a living as a CCTV installer. So usisibefaka ama-camera, like ama-CCTV cameras, I guess. So she's a digital person, I guess. So one of her former business partners, Thokozani Smelane, told the publication he had suspected Mthembu was behind a break-in at the Brakpan offices of a prominent bank. Hey, oh, I see it. So if you operate a CCTV camera, you think she had a way to get or to know the times where there was no traffic? Bruh, that's crazy. Because I want to think why controller CCTV cameras for a bank. But then I guess why has a gap of where maybe there was no one, security, the buys, and security, because here it says one of her former business partners told the publication that Mthembu was suspected behind a break-in at the Brakpan offices of a prominent bank. The pair had installed CCTV cameras at the offices a day before the incident, and the tools they used were found in the building. Oh my God. So uyangena uzoshaya isipani, uyangena uma isithi uzofaka ama-CCTV camera, ubone inombolo, keep inombolo. So Smelane was banned from working on the premises, but the perpetrator was never found. He also told the Sunday Times that he would often find hard drives under the seats of their vehicles, some of which were brand new. She was known for having a side hustle of selling hard drives, some used and others brand new, said Smelane. When she wasn't selling hard drives to people, she was selling them to computer shops and cash stores dealing in pre-owned goods. I guess about cash crusaders, no cash converters. Mthembu is also suspected to be behind 2 break-ins at the Metro Center in October 2020 and was apprehended during one of the incidents. However, the case was thrown out of court due to a lack of evidence. Her third break-in happened at the Gauteng e-Government Department offices in Joburg, CBD, March 2021. In that instance, she was arrested, charged with theft, and appeared in the Johannesburg Magistrates Court. She was released on bail but failed to return to court. Before her most recent arrest, she was supposedly also caught on CCTV cameras in the Metro Center on January 2024 or 2022, January 24th. In all 5 incidents, Mthembu's primary target appeared to be hard drives. I did a hard drive, Faith. Did a hard drive. So uboshiwe my sister for this or that reason. And ufuna imali yakhe. Ufuna imali yakhe ku-ANC, uthi i-ANC imkoleta imali yakhe. This is so if you can see the comments, other people want to know more. Abanye bathi awugeza ubuso. Like, why people are mean, bro? Where did you get a phone? Is it not a case? She's in jail, remember? Go live and tell us the full story. How did you get the phone? Oh, goodness. I want to say this. This is interesting. I want to say this. I've been following this for a while, but I guess this is how it ends. It ends with her in jail. The last topic I want to talk about. I'll cover Aspen tomorrow. Honestly, it's late. Uyangidinga umqashi nami kusasa. 3 topics. We covered 3 topics though today. Which is quite good. It's quite good. I'm gonna chop them up and then I'm gonna put them up on YouTube and then voila, for anyone and everyone to enjoy. Mlunge, and I am signing out. Thank you. Bye.